What's going on, everybody? Hey, what's happening? What's doing? Welcome to this special live stream here on this Wednesday, July the 28th, 2021. It is 7:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And this is going to be an exciting show tonight because I think I'm going to learn a thing or two about Child's Play and the Chucky universe because, you know, I've seen the first film I adore. I love that movie from 1988. I think it's actually quite a scary film in its own right. And I really enjoyed the sequel, Child's Play 2 from 1990, I believe, which is a couple years later. I didn't, you know, I'm not crazy on Child's Play 3. That's kind of where I kind of felt like they were kind of, you know, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. But that's sort of where my Child's Play journey kind of ended. And I've seen bits and pieces of Bride and Seed and Curse and Cult, and now of course we're up to the television series Chucky on Sci-Fi. But who better to bring onto the show to talk Chucky than the one, the only Cody Leach. Cody, thank you so much for joining me today to talk Chucky. Chucky. That's what she fucking says in the first movie. Where are you going? To find Chucky. She said it with such conviction. It was insane. Yeah. Your doll? Your doll? Chucky did it. Your doll? Chucky. That's right. Chucky. That's right. I love that movie though. Oh, I do here. because like, you know, and you watch it and it's like 45 minutes or 50 minutes before you even really see Chucky become Chucky. Yeah. You know, and it's that moment where she opens the back and, oh my God, there's no batteries. And that's like, time that shit. It's like a good 45 minutes into the movie. Everything up to that point is just like, you know, these slow kind of, you know, push-ins on, you know, on the doll and shit like that in the background and stuff. And I think it's great. And the second one, you know, I like too. How's it hanging, Phil? Great film and whatnot. But thanks for coming on, man. I know we've been talking about doing this. Thanks for reaching out and suggesting it.
No problem.
And so let's start. You know, I watched the Chucky teaser or the Chucky trailer, and you know, I talked about it on McRae Live. Was it last week? I guess it was, or whatever it was. And you know, I thought to myself, okay. But, you know, it doesn't make me more excited, but it doesn't make me less excited. But I'm also aware that I am, you know, I'm not a Chucky guy. So there might be a lot of things that I'm missing that I'm not picking up on, fan service, things that connect to the larger picture and stuff that would really resonate with a Chucky aficionado like yourself that I'm just missing. Do you know what I mean? So I need you. Let's talk about this Chucky teaser and, you know, try to sell it to me. I mean, what, because I watched your, you know, review of it and you were like, and, you know, the reason why I admire you, Cody, is because regardless of whether it's your favorite movie series or not, you're not going to pull any punches. You're going to be like, no, this looks like dog shit. Yep. You know what I mean? It's one of the things that I noticed, and I noticed it immediately when Curse, it was Curse or Cult or, you know, whatever, I forget which one you like more than the other. But you were very sort of like, no, this is dumb. Mancini's just fucking, he's just, you know, and it's like.
That was Cult.
That was Cult. Okay, fair. And I really appreciated that. So anyway, I'm going to shut up. Welcome to the show. And tell me, what did you think of this Chucky trailer? Sell it to me. What's got you jazzed about this?
what I liked about it, and then the trailer is very particularly made to where it's almost like it could be its own thing. But what excites
Mhm.
me about it is that it feels very classic Child's Play. And that's the reason why I'm 70% excited and 30% very cautiously guarded.
Okay.
Because the movie started to take a certain direction after Bride. Like I felt like Bride was that perfect mix to where it was still like a classic Chucky slasher horror movie, but they put a little bit of self-aware humor in there. You know, they tried to have a little bit more fun with it. And then after that, it's been a roller coaster ride. You had
Right.
Seed of Chucky, which was just an abomination as far as I'm concerned. That just took
Right.
everything that Bride did so well and just ran it into the ground. And then we
Right.
got Curse of Chucky, which was the first Child's Play movie to be direct to VOD. And before it came out, that was kind of like the kiss of death. It was like, oh, great, Chucky's dead. Like, we're never
Right.
going to get anything quality again. And then
Right.
I think most, if not all, Child's Play fans, and even maybe people that weren't really Child's Play fans, were really surprised with Curse because Curse was a very classic slasher movie. It was dark. It had a lot of the kind of POV shots of the first movie to where, I mean, we know it's Chucky, but it still was kind of disguised like, what's going on here until a certain
Right.
point. And it did a good job of placing itself within the timeline and within the canon of the movies and kind of letting you know that this does take place after Bride and after Seed. We're not retconning anything, but it kind of brought everything together in a nice way. And
Mm.
then Cult felt like it just went back to Seed. It was like, oh, okay, you like us again? Well, here's more crazy shit. And it just
So
went off.
Curse was before Cult.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so Curse comes along and you're like, oh, you know what? And then Cult comes along and you're like,
Yeah,
ah.
exactly. I was just like, oh,
Okay.
great. You didn't learn any lessons.
And did
Uh,
Mancini direct both those films?
Mancini has directed everything since Seed. He directed Seed, he directed Curse, he directed Cult, and he's writing this entire series and directing the first episode, if I'm not mistaken.
So when you look at Cult and Curse, Mancini directs both.
Hmm.
What do you think is the reason for the dichotomy? I mean, the polar opposite. You know, it's kind of like a Rick Rosenthal Halloween 2, Halloween Resurrection sort of thing. Like what do you
Yes,
think?
very
Is
much.
it is it the writing? Is it just the direction? I mean, how much? I mean, he's the guy. So I mean, how much say does he? Did he also write it?
Yeah, he did. He's written all of the movies. I mean,
Okay.
and Tom Holland had a lot of liberties with the first movie.
Right.
I'm not. I probably misspeak, but I know Tom Holland made a lot of changes to the original script that became a lot of the iconic things with Child's Play.
Right.
The voodoo aspect side of things, some other major parts of it. That was all Tom Holland. So, but since then, Don Mancini has wrote every single movie. But yeah, it's weird because you see something like Curse, and Curse very much felt like, all right, guys, I'm sorry. All right, I know you didn't like the last one. I know what you guys want. I love you guys. This is what you want. And everybody's like, yay. And then you come back to Colt and he's just like, psych, bitch, here's all my crazy ideas again. And
Right.
and it's just I don't really know what it is exactly. It's definitely the writing because he's a pretty talented director. Even Colt has some cool direction to it, but it's
Right.
you get to Cult, and for example, it introduces this whole aspect where now Chucky can embody multiple bodies. So there's like 3 or 4 Chucky dolls running around in Cult, and now
And
he doesn't need the
Cult's the
whole.
one that's like, nah.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Okay.
and he doesn't need the whole chant that was the whole thing with the first 3 movies where you got to get somebody isolated, you got to get enough time away to say this whole thing, and now he just
Right.
says one word and instantly just embodies somebody, and it's like, well, you just
Right.
kind of killed the entire running through line of tension in this entire series. Now it's just kind
Right.
of a joke. It's kind of like a self-aware parody at this point. Um, and then where Curse ends, it ends with a lot of directions where you're like, well, where the fuck are you going to go now?
Mhm.
So what excites me about the show is that at least on face value, it looks like it's going back to kind of the Curse aspect where it's like, okay, we're going to go back to what you guys like. We're going to go back to Chucky being a classic slasher, even more so than Curse, because I mean, it's almost like the doll was modeled right after Child's Play 2. And they've obviously gotten rid of the scars, and now it's just a very old school vintage, or what does he say in the trailer? It's not vintage, it's retro.
It's
A
retro,
very
right?
retro Child's Play. And what I like about what it's showing is that it's going back to that. Okay, Chucky's latched onto this kid. Kid's older now. The kid has different problems. He's obviously being bullied in high school. And so what excites me about it is, and I'm totally speculating, it almost looks like Chucky's going to help him get his revenge on these bullies for a little while. And the kid might even be complicit in a lot of the carnage until he realizes, like, oh shit, people are dying. That's a cool little spin on that original Child's Play setup to me.
Interesting. So, like, I mean, one of the things that I talked about in my show last week was, and again, I mean, I admit that this could be also because I'm not as up, I mean, I have I can maybe teach like a Child's Play 101 class, like that's a, I could probably certainly do that. But in terms of like, specializing in it like you, I'm certainly not there. So again, I preface this by saying that this could also be because of that, but I'm left, and I know you watched a bit of that show anyway, I'm left with sort of thinking, what is left for this character? And to be fair, I mean, that might be premature because I haven't seen anything really past 3 bits and pieces, clips here and there. And I'm kind of like, what is left for Chucky? I mean, what is Chucky's... Because help me out here. I mean, in the first film, we know that he wants to become a human. I mean, he wants to his soul wants to get a human, become again. He looks for Andy and is the boy and all that kind of stuff. And that sort of kind of continues a little bit. But what's Chucky doing now? I mean, what is his motive? What's his purpose for existing? What is this? Where are we going here? What's left for this character that we haven't seen before?
Well, I mean, as far as the story direction after Bride, from Seed onward, Chucky's basically just embraced like, hey, I'm an iconic fucking killer doll. This is pretty badass. I'm just going to enjoy this ride. It kind of took a direction from Curse forward where he was just kind of utilizing that snake in the grass kind of mentality. Like, I can sneak into places, and he was kind of getting revenge on people in his past. Like Curse has this whole angle where it introduces his daughter Fiona Dourif as a character that has a tie to his past, and he's basically going presumably Tiffany is helping him take people out from his past that he wants to kind of get revenge on, or kind of just kind of go back and finally kill people. And at the end of Cult, he finally wins as far as getting back into a human body, at least one of the Chuckies. By the end of Cult, Chucky is able to get inside of Fiona Dourif's character. So now he, at least the main Chucky of Cult, is now a human again. But there's other Chuckies out there. That's what I'm saying. It's very weird to where what excites me about the show and what is left for the character to do. On face value, absolutely nothing. From what we see in the trailer, absolutely nothing. It's just more, hey, you guys want to see Chucky fuck up the works and kill some people? Absolutely, yes. Okay, well, here's more of that. But inevitably, at some point in this show, Don Mancini is going to have to continue the stuff that he introduced in Cult. He's going to have to answer all the things that were left hanging, and he's going to have to tell us where all these characters are, because it's already been confirmed Alex Vincent's back. He's been back since Curse. Christine Elise McCarthy, who plays Kyle from Part 2, she's back. She was just introduced at the very last scene of Cult. You have Tiffany back. For what degree she's back, I'm not sure, because her role has kind of the size of her role has shifted since Bride. And then we have Fiona Dourif, who is going to be back as well, who is the last time we saw her, that's Chucky. That's no longer Nika. So at some point in the show, he's going to have to tell us what happened to Alex Vincent after Cult, what happened to Kyle after Cult, what happened to Tiffany, what happened to Nika. And what I'm at least trying to be positive about, despite the fact that I disliked a lot of the directions that he took in Cult, is that with a 10-episode series, I think he's got a lot more room to flesh out these ideas and possibly do them some justice versus trying to answer all these crazy ass questions in another 90-minute movie.
So, to your point, to piggyback off what you said there, I mean, and I've heard you say this before, I think you're right with what you've just said, but he also has more time to fuck it all up too.
Correct.
And I've heard you say this when talking about Child's Play. one of the things that frustrates you the most, because it's one of your favorites, of course, is you just don't know what Don Mancini you're going to get.
Yeah.
You know, and are we going to get this Don Mancini, or are we going to get this Don Mancini? Because it seems like he's got this ability to have the, you know, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. There's not really, you know, I mean, maybe the Bride, I think you said was kind of, you know, in the middle perhaps, but everything else after that has really been great or not. And why do you think that is? Do you think Mancini he just gets these ideas and just there's nobody there to kind of reel him in and kind of say, hey, you know, Don, maybe we should not think about doing that?
It seems to me that he has complete creative control. And that's a dangerous thing, because that either means if your ideas are great, well, nobody's going to be around to screw it up. But if your ideas are bad, nobody's going to be tapping on the shoulder saying, this might not work.
Right.
So he and you know, God bless him for it. He's one of the only people as far as horror franchises that I can think of that's kept his franchise going and going in the same canonical timeline since the 80s. I mean, Michael's reset a number of times, Freddy's reset at this point, Jason's reset. I mean, all of them have started anew at least once or twice. Chucky's still kicking. So I love the fact that he's consistent. He's always embraced, like, this is my series, I'm not going anywhere. Chucky's mine, and I'm here till the end. But it does seem like he wakes up with these ideas and he just wants to see them through. And while I respect the tenacity of it, I don't really know if he fully cares whether or not the fans like it or not. Not in like a shitty way, but more like a, you know, take it or leave it, or like, well, some people like it, some people don't. Like, for example, the big kind of controversy, I'll say, you know, the biggest stain I'll say on the movie Seed of Chucky is Chucky's offspring. And you have this character that's introduced named Glenn, and the character is just balls to the wall weird. I mean, there's a running joke.
Sorry, I just want to interrupt because can I ask how Chucky has offspring?
Well, you see, Dave, when a man and a woman love each other.
So that's what that is.
So let's just say at some point in Bride of Chucky, the plumbing works. So,
I didn't watch that clip.
Bride of Chucky ends with Tiffany giving birth, and then you have.
Thought you were about to say something else, and you said giving, but anyway.
Go on. Exactly. I mean, they suggest that as well, but yeah. So we have. The birth of Chucky's offspring at the end of Bride, and then we had a couple of year wait, and then you had Seed of Chucky, which is centered around this offspring of Chucky finding his parents.
Okay.
And it's a very off-kilter, weird, dark comedy. It of all of the Child's Play movies, it's the one that feels the most foreign for the tone alone.
Right.
But this character is introduced, and you know, you think in your head, like, okay, a spawn of Chucky is probably going to be an evil, tenacious, foul-mouthed little bastard.
Right.
And he's not. He's a gentle, quiet, caring, strange-looking, childlike doll with razor-sharp teeth, no genitalia, and he also has a split personality named Glenda.
And this is in Bride of Chucky.
This is in Seed of Chucky.
Seed of Chucky, excuse me.
This is in Seed of Chucky.
Which follows Bride.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So the vast majority of Child's Play fans despise this character because it's the weirdest, most off-kilter and just cringe-worthy representation of what a offspring of Chucky could be. I mean, there's a running joke throughout the movie where every time he gets scared, he pisses himself. It happens like 5 or 6 times. It's the lowest of lowbrow humor throughout that movie.
Gotcha.
However, there's an element to Glenn/Glenda that is, at least from the way that Don Mancini presents the character, is kind of a representation for transgender folks.
Okay.
So despite the fact that most of the Child's Play fans out there despise this character for the way that they were utilized, Don Mancini is very passionate about this character because of what it represents to him, which is representation of a transgender.
Now, is that something you believe that is representation for him, or do you think he fell into it and is running with it?
I think it could go either way. I mean, Don Mancini is a gay man, so I think he's very high on representation. And I think, and I've even heard that the main character of this TV series is going to be the main kid is gay as well. So I believe the fact that he's pushing representation.
Right.
However, if I was a transgender person, I don't know if that's the character I would want representing me.
Right.
So that's an example to where, even though the majority of his fan base despises this character, he's still very passionate about, well, too bad that this is canon. And I would not be surprised if at some point Glenn and Glenda comes back, even though the second they go on screen, majority of the people watching is going to go, oh, fuck.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
it's
like a Jar Jar Binks thing. It's literally that bad, where it's like, oh, no.
That is pretty bad. That is pretty bad.
Yes. So that's just one example. But it feels like he's passionate about this character. He loves this character. He lives and breathes Chucky, and I love him for it. But he just has so many wild directions that he wants to take Chucky that it's just, he's throwing a Hail Mary with every single one. And, once in a while somebody catches it, but a lot of times they don't, at least for me.
Do you think there's ever an issue? Because I've often thought this, and maybe not, because there's that supernatural element kind of to him a bit, but do you think that and maybe I'm thinking way too seriously about this, it's a fucking doll, but do you think that maybe, or has it, like that first Child's Play, even though it's a doll, I believe in this doll being responsible for the mayhem. I, for whatever reason, believe in the difficulty it is to grasp the doll and to know where the doll is. And, oh, fuck, there's a doll. Oh, shit. Even though, in theory, like, we should be able to just grab the doll and throw it out the window. Like, I mean, I believe that, I believe in what they were presenting in that first movie and for the second movie, too. Do you think by now, though, like, do they struggle at all to make Chucky feel foreboding, imposing, a legitimate threat? I mean, 5-6 movies, TV show. Is it just the mystique about the doll? Is he really still a threat?
I mean, it depends on the movie, and it depends on the tone that they're going for. I still very much buy into his threat and curse.
Right.
And then in Cult, it varies from different scenes. It really depends a lot too, honestly, as silly as it sounds, as how well they pull off the animatronics. How fluid does the doll look? Because whenever it looks like this living, breathing thing, like it does in all the best movies, you believe that, this thing might just have the strength of Charles Lee Ray, and not a plastic doll. But there's like moments in Cult where the animatronics are a little bit off, and it's just like that looks like a doll, like kicking something over. I don't know if I buy that or not.
Right.
But it also, I mean, it's gotten progressively gorier and progressively more creative with the kills since, as well. So like the first couple of movies, it was, he blew a guy up in a gas explosion. There's a couple stabbings and strangulation or two, which, strangulation, of course, that pretty much tells you he's got to have some strength. Otherwise you'd be like, what the fuck, get off me.
Of course. Yeah.
But in Cult, he's pulling out drills and he's using propane tanks and all this other stuff. So it all
like a video game almost.
Yeah. It all
like I could see a Chucky game where like you go over to the propane tank and you pick it up, and you know what I mean? Like it feels almost like a video game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, it all depends on the way that they pull it off. But I mean, I still think he's imposing, especially when he's by himself. Like he was great in Bride, and Tiffany very much complimented him in that movie. The more that it's got silly, it's kind of turned into a little bit of a parody of itself here and there. And that's the part that I'm worried about. I'm like, ooh, just stay away from that. What the trailer showed, I'm like, okay, I could believe that, Chucky's like, all right, take me on stage. I'm about to go carry on these bitches. And especially even like, and I know this is completely removed from the timeline that we're talking about, but even the remake that came out, a lot of the kills in that, to where Chucky was doing various things with just, kind of Rube Goldberg machines almost, like with the kill where the guy was hanging. I'm like, there's ways that you can do it like that I believe it absolutely.
I actually didn't mind the remake. I
really enjoyed it. for what it was.
I thought it was, yeah, I thought it was all right. I mean, I mean, obviously, I don't think they're going to do another one. I don't think it was successful enough for them to warrant it, but it wasn't unsuccessful. I think it might have broken even, perhaps. I think it made 40-something million worldwide.
Yeah, it made money. I think it was either the second or third highest grossing, but it didn't blow the lid off or anything.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, I didn't mind it. I mean, I thought it was all right. I mean, it's what you would do, I think, to bring it into the 21st century in terms of the technology aspect and the artificial intelligence aspect and all that. I thought it was, all right. When it comes to this Chucky TV series, I do like the setting. I like that it's set during the fall. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's, you got that cool kind of vibe and the Halloween vibe for all you fucking Halloween fans. And I love you guys, shut up, I'm just busting your balls. Dave. It's got to be at least one a show. At least one a show where I do that. So I do like the fall vibe. But I mean, what does this television series have to do in your mind where is it Cult was the last one or Curse?
Cult was the last one.
Cult was the last one. So Cult's kind of like, oh God. Now, how Cult ends, what the hell is Chucky doing at a fucking garage sale here? Like is this a different Chucky? Is this one of the other Chuckies you talked about? Or what, like, is this Charles Lee Ray Chucky? I mean, it kind of looks like that's the case. Mm-hmm. What is this doll doing what do you think? And maybe actually a bit more about it. Mm-hmm. So we end with Cult and then we pick up with the Chucky series. What's the connective tissue here?
I think that's the questions that we're going to have answered at some point in the show. You kind of have to put it together yourself, but like with the events of Curse, where Chucky is sent to this house where Fiona Dourif lives, and by the end of it, you realize that Tiffany sent him there, and he's the actual Chucky from Seed. It's not like some weird in between chapter. You basically are led to believe, okay, well, Tiffany and Chucky are plotting to go kill these random people using his doll appearance as kind of his in. And then you get into Cult, and Cult basically says, oh, well, he's also figured out a way to embody anybody and everything that he wants. There can be 17 Chuckies going at once, and they're all like a hive mind kind of thing.
Right.
So from what I can guess,
so you have all these Chuckies, and like the host is the original Chucky doll, right? Like so is it a sense where it's like you got all these Chuckies, but they're all being controlled by a central hub, which is the original?
They're all independent.
Oh, they're all independent. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all independent, but somehow they all have the consciousness of Charles Lee Ray. It's extremely silly. That's where I started to have problems with it. I'm like, okay, because I mean, to go on a small tangent, like Don Mancini is on record for saying that in Child's Play 3, he had the idea to create multiple Chucky dolls. When that movie opens up and they lift up the corpse of Chucky and they carry it over that vat of plastic and the blood drips in, originally that was his kind of in of saying, okay, well, that molten plastic, whatever dolls come out of that vat are all now embodied. That makes a lot more sense than the way that he ended up doing it years later. But when you get to Cult, he can basically say one word, embody, himself into another being. There is a Chucky Prime, if you will, but he doesn't have any control over the other Chuckies. It's all completely independent. So as far as to speculate, the show starting with just one of those Chuckies. This is one of the Chuckies that he's sending off to do something, to do the bidding there, or there might be revealed that he knows somebody or somebody's tied to his past. I mean, they've said that in the Chucky series, at some point we're gonna, explore the unexplored past of Charles Lee Ray. And I think there's even a shot showing Charles Lee Ray as a kid or something, which I'm very worried about, because I'm kind of on record for saying I don't really like prequels. I don't like going back and answering questions.
Here.
Answering. So,
here.
Yeah.
What about a Loomis? Shut up. Yeah. Anyway. Don't you want to see Michael in 1972? No, I don't. I can tell you what he was doing. He was sitting in a room, staring at a wall, looking past the wall. Yeah. Anyway, no, I don't need to see it. I'm right there. Fascinating. I appreciate you going this in depth, because it really makes me understand sort of the lore a bit more and kind of where the stakes are. And I mean, I had no idea that there were multiple Chucky dolls out there now in the universe, according to Cult, if I'm right on that, right?
Yes.
It almost feels like maybe Mancini did this because he realized that if we're just following one doll all the time, maybe this is also his way to, well, I mean, it's his way to keep it going, because eventually maybe that original doll, well, I guess it's not the original doll no, hang on a sec. It's a new doll almost every movie. What the hell am I thinking? It's not even the first doll from the first movie. But again, it's his way of maybe getting Chucky out there in more places than one at the same time.
Yeah.
Which can be frightening. I mean, there is a certain, that's kind of scary to think. I wonder, do you think that there's going to, these doll thing, is it all going to kind of come together? Like wherever they are, wherever this town is, wherever they are here in this Chucky TV series, there could be another doll, across the country in some other small town being picked up at a show, a garage sale or something. And then kind of like, maybe it's like a virus, and it kind of starts infecting and people start dying, and Chucky just takes over the country or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you
little
think
by little,
that
it's Chucky's world?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, do you think he'd go that route? I mean, not exactly like that, but utilize kind of Chucky's all over the place?
I don't know. I mean, it seems so far that he's set it up that, like I said, by the end of Seed, he's embraced like, all right, you know what? I'm a killer doll. Fuck going into a human body. I can die as a human. As a doll, I can do way more carnage, which is true. And then from there, it just kind of seems like he's like, all right, well, now that I've embraced this, now that I'm not worried about getting inside Andy or anybody else. I'm not worried about finding a fucking amulet and getting a host somewhere. Now I can just have fun. And so now I think it's just, the ride that we're on is he's out to just kill and just keep killing. And we'll find out eventually throughout the end of the movie, by the end of the movie, or presumably by the end of this TV series, what his motivation for picking this spot was, or picking this house, or picking this person.
Right.
And so that's kind of the ride that we're on now, is that he's just having fun being Chucky.
He's just having fun being Chucky. So,
Yeah.
So that really does kind of answer my question from last week, in the sense of what is there left for Chucky? And, you said it yourself, nothing really. I mean, now it's just more about, we have gotten to that point, and we've been at that point for quite some time, that, that I always say that horror movies usually get to, where, you run out of ideas, and then the sensational and unusual and, the weird kind of creeps in, and it's more, I guess it's more forgivable to a point with Chucky, because he is a doll. And therefore it's the absurdity of a doll doing any of what Chucky does anyway is silly from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
So there's a whimsy to the whole carnival circus act, to the whole thing anyway. So you're more likely to forgive or let certain things slide than you would if it was like Michael Myers or something.
Correct.
Or Jason Voorhees. Michael can't do that. Would never happen. With Chucky, it's like, well, I mean, it's a doll. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a doll that's been doing this from the get-go. So, it's interesting. I'm curious if they are going to, because it feels, well, I guess they, yeah, I don't know, to go back and to find out who Charles Lee Ray was and sort of what made him who he was. It almost feels like you would want to, not that I think it's a good idea to do that at all, but it almost feels like you would just make the Chucky TV series that you would just, if you are going to do it, then just start there. And then maybe at the end of your first season is kind of like the beginning of the first movie. You know what I mean? And why start where we are and then go back? I don't know if he's going to do that, but
I really don't know. It's one of those things where I just don't know what, aside from just running out of ideas, and that's just the textbook direction to go, oh, we'll just go answer shit from before that we never thought of. Right. I don't really know what there is to tell us about Charles Lee Ray. I mean, he was a serial killer. He found out how to do voodoo. They explained that in the first movie.
Yep.
I'm good. I don't need any more context. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe they'll throw something in there and it's just to give context to who he's after in this one.
Right.
They kind of did that with Curse though, because I mean, Curse, like I said, the Chucky doll shows up at this house that Fiona Dourif lives at. Her mother dies, the opening credits of the movie, and that's kind of the kickoff point of the movie. And then by the end, you find out that through like a flashback that Charles Lee Ray was infatuated with this woman, and through a certain series of events, she's kind of the one that whistle blew and led to him being gunned down in the first movie.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, well, that's a very clear motivation for why he would want to come back and stab this bitch. I get it. Okay, cool. Yeah, now you made sense. You made sense for the reason why you told me events before that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
But if they do that here, it's like, well, you already did that trick. So
right.
Are you doing that trick again? Or are we just going back because you can't think of anything else to do?
Yeah, and I think that does happen. I mean, you know, again, I don't know as much about Charles Lee Ray as say Michael Myers or something like that, but it sounds, but I know everything you said about him being a serial killer. I knew that. He figured out how to do voodoo. I knew that. He got himself into the doll. I knew that. All because of the first movie. So, I mean, if that's really, that is all we need to know. I mean, why can't people just be bad? Yeah. And what I don't want is them to go back and give not justification, but to give to try and almost paint a empathetic view of Charles Lee Ray. You know, we don't want to suddenly show that, well, he was born into that and his father was a prick and he was sexually abused or whatever. I mean, I don't need to see that because there's still no excuse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, listen, it happens all over the world. It's terrible when it happens. It should not happen. Absolutely not. That might be the reason why somebody goes off and does what they do. But it's not an excuse. It's not like, you had a terrible upbringing as a child. Okay, well, you know, we'll give you a more lenient sentence. Like, no, that's just not the way it works.
That's the last thing that I want. I mean, Chucky is not the type of character, just like with Freddy, Chucky is not the type of character that you should ever try to humanize or give some kind of a path for sympathy. And if they're not going to go that route, if they're going to do what they did in Freddy's Dead, and it's just like, oh, he was psycho all along. And it's like, well, okay, cool. That doesn't add anything to his character. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean?
No, we already know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it just, I don't know. I'm worried about that. That was one of the only things that they said at first. They were like, you know, Chucky TV series, Chucky's going to prey upon this, you know, suburban neighborhood and the secrets are going to come out. Oh, and by the way, we're going to explore the unexplored prequel story of Charles Lee Ray. And I went, fuck, no, don't do that.
Do you think that this is that the TV series, well, I guess we'll soon find out, but do you think that, because for me, I might, and I'm not Don Mancini, obviously, and maybe this is because it's Mancini in charge and he's been pulling the strings and, you know, like you said, I mean, bless the guy, man. I mean, he's riding it till he can't ride it anymore. It's his bread and butter. It's his claim to fame. It's his baby. And he's gonna, but sometimes, you know, that's not a good thing. I mean, look what happened to George Lucas in the prequel. But Jar Jar's the key to all this. You guys remember that one? Oh, fuck, that was terrible. Jar Jar. He actually said that during a screening of Phantom. Jar Jar's the key to all this. Yeah, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? I thought it was like a joke. No, he actually said that. Anyway, this isn't a Star Wars show. So, but what I find interesting is do you think maybe, although, how would you have reacted? And how do you think the fans would have reacted? Child's Play fans, hardcore Child's Play fans, would have reacted if they said, you know what? Of course, they just did a Child's Play movie that was in theaters. But hypothetically, they said, we are doing a direct sequel to 2. We are getting Alex Vincent. We're going to have Kyle. We're doing a direct sequel. We're pretending, you know, 3 through Cult never happened. We're taking it fucking serious. Mancini hires, I don't know, is Tom Holland alive? Is he alive still?
Yeah.
Is he alive? Yeah, he is. Maybe I don't know if they're still on good terms. I don't know. Maybe he gets him back as to direct. Maybe he gets somebody else to direct. I don't know. Just fucking do like a, excuse me, I want to barf when I say this, but you know, kind of like what Halloween's done. But I'm talking about like the business plan. I mean, it works, you know, it worked, And if Halloween Kills is financially successful from a business perspective, it's working. And you see what they're planning on doing with The Exorcist, same sort of thing. I'm not saying they jump on that bandwagon, but I'm just wondering how would you have felt if they had said, we're going to pretend that these movies don't exist? Because at the end of the day, and they said, we're doing a follow-up 35 years later. It's a direct sequel to 2, or maybe it's a direct sequel to 3. I don't know. With Alex and with the actors back, or does it feel kind of maybe it feels weird because we just saw them in Cult and Curse, so it kind of feels like it's anticlimactic. There's no like, oh, they're coming back. They were just back.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little sticky. I think this is the last franchise where that would elicit the most excitement. And I think realistically, I think it would be split. Since Cult, the franchise or the fan base has been split. There was about half or so the fans that thought that Cult was a lot of fun and a gory good time and crazy and embraced the craziness and the stupidity of it all. And then there was the other half that I was captain of that was like, no, fuck this shit. And then you had the remake, which was certainly not half. There was a very loud majority that was like, no, we're sticking with Mancini, hashtag not my Chucky, all that stuff. And then, and I'm sure you'll have probably the same thing. I mean, hopefully a little bit better, but you'll probably have the same type of divisiveness with the series, depending on what direction they take. And I think it would probably be the same way if they announced that. You would have half that are like, oh, thank God. We go back and we try to right the ship, and then there would be the other half that's like, wait, no, I was on board. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. You're exactly right with why you're saying that, because this is the only franchise that continuity. I mean, aside from taking a lot of liberties with the rules, the continuity has been straight ever since the 80s. It's not like Freddy, where essentially it felt like 4 was kind of a reboot, and it felt like 6 was kind of a reboot, and then we had Wes Craven's New Nightmare that was its own thing, and you go to Jason, and that feels like a whole bunch of different directional changes. Texas Chainsaw, I don't even got to get started on that one. And then even Halloween's like a choose your own adventure all the way through.
Somebody say Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. So Halloween is a perfect spot where they were like, okay, we're gonna reset the timeline. We're gonna go back and choose this as our canon to start with. Well, it would be weird to do that with Child's Play because it's been one canon the entire way through. They haven't went back to the drawing board a bunch of times.
I understand. What does this TV show need to do? Do you think what does it need to do, and what does it not need to do, or what you hope it doesn't do, in order by the end of that 10th episode for you to be like, wow, this is actually really good?
I think they need to embrace the tone of the first couple of movies, which it looks like they're at least trying to where it's a serious slasher, to where they're at least trying to be menacing. They're trying to be at least a little bit scary while having fun along the way, because Chucky naturally is just a fun character ever since the second movie, especially. And though it's going to be very hard, what they need to do is wrap things up that they started in Cult in a way that doesn't destroy what they're trying to do with the tone. You know what I mean? You can't have the tone of the first couple of movies and then bring in all the elements that they introduced in Cult, because it's just not going to work. So that's what I'm afraid of, is that the trailer is like, here's what you guys want, and that's just maybe a window into the first couple of episodes, and then episode 3 through 10 is like, okay, here's all the answers to all the crazy shit. So that's what they need to do. He can't ignore it. He can't just say, okay, well, we're going to act like those movies didn't exist, or we're going to act like I didn't, all the shit that I introduced in Cold is just, we're not going to talk about that anymore. He's going to have to spend about 20-30% of the show making sense of how this continues from Cult, but they need to focus at least 70% of the show on classic Chucky's back, and classic Chucky's here to stay. We're still going to have fun with it. We're still going to go in some new directions, but this is Chucky. This isn't craziness.
Right. And by all accounts, with Tiffany and you know, some of the things that you've said about who's coming back and the plot threads that have left it. I mean, it's entirely possible that we could find the sensational and the weird creep in, and then it becomes sort of a weird hybrid. Like the first half of the season was really good, and then the second half of the season is like, in terms of you know, tone, and presentation. Now I feel like I'm watching like I mean, if the first half of the season is Child's Play and the second half of the season is, you know, Seed of Chucky, I mean, what then? I mean, I mean, you know, well then it's just going to end on a really downer note, I guess.
I would hope that he's going to be smarter than that, and they're going to be smarter than that, because like I don't want to assume the worst, but the reality is Chucky's been on a bit of a downslope since Bride. I mean, you had Seed, that was the last theatrical movie. It did very poorly, not only you know, reception wise, but I don't think it really made anywhere near as much money as Bride did. And then you had Curse that kind of gained everybody's good faith back, but then that was on VOD, and it's damn near impossible for a series like this to escape that at this point, especially nowadays when VOD is kind of almost the norm at this point.
That's right.
Then you had Cult, and something that happened with Cult was Cult actually leaked a couple of weeks before the official release. So it was a very highly pirated movie. So whatever money they were going to make with Cult, that got cut by a lot. So Cult was not a financial success by any means. But then once again, now you're back into the camp where, finances aside, you've now split the fan base, and now you have half the fan base that's still on board and half the fan base that's going to see your name on it and go, oh, I don't know if I want to spend my time on this or not. And so now it feels like with the TV series, it almost feels like your last shot. You know, you had the remake come out. It proves that there's still some excitement for the character. You know, it didn't necessarily blow the lid off the box office like Halloween 2018, but it proves that people are still interested in this character enough to budget something. And so now you're on the TV series, which is on Sci-Fi Channel. It's not on HBO. It's not on Netflix. It's not on AMC.
No, it's an interesting choice. Yeah,
exactly. And it might just be because Sci-Fi allows them to be on main television while staying rated R, and that's possible. But Sci-Fi doesn't have the best track record. So this, to me, just being the realist that I am, it feels like the last shot. So if you once again give us something to where all the fan base is excited, all the fan base is gonna, you know, put their faith in you, and then they watch these 10 episodes, and by the end of it they go, nope, you fucked it up again. They're not coming back for season 2. No, and your money's not coming back for season 2 either, or there certainly won't come back for season 3 if you do happen to get money for season 2. And I don't know if this is going to be a gauge of like, okay guys, see, everybody's really excited. If it's really successful, we can go back to the movies now, we can do another movie. Or if they're trying to be here to stay, like you said, we were talking about before we went live about the Cobra Kai approach. If it succeeds, they're like, well shit, to hell with the movies, we'll just keep doing this, we'll introduce more characters, we'll go this direction.
But like you said yourself, I mean, we already know, so you know, all of the OGs who are coming back, so there's not really, you know, with Cobra Kai, I mean, it was a surprise, you know, at the end of each season, you know, oh my God, somebody's God, coming. You know, somebody's coming back. And that was really cool. But with this, we already know, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, you could still not have Kyle but Kyle was at the end of the last film anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, did Cult and Curse not were they not theatrical because, who produced it, or who was behind that? Was that a major studio, or was that?
I'm not sure. I would have to look that up. Let me see.
Because I wonder why they just went to streaming.
It has to be because that was the only place that would budget it. And that was the only place that would distribute it.
Yeah. And you know, the major studios are probably like, we don't think we can make money off of this. Yeah. You know.
It had to be what it was, because I mean, like I said, it was still distributed by Universal, but for comparison's sake, the budget was $2.8 million for Curse of Chucky, and Seed of Chucky, which was the last theatrical one, that budget was $12 million.
Wow, 2.8 million.
Yeah,
probably about $1 million of that went to the doll.
Yeah, exactly. And then Cult of Chucky had an even smaller budget. That was 1.5 million.
Wow.
So, like I said, at this point, I mean, I love Chucky to death, so I hate to admit it, but it just feels like they've been on this downslope where it's just like, dude, people,
Right.
Chucky's not an A-lister. You know what I mean? Chucky's
No.
a cult character. He's not a Freddy. He's not a Michael. You can't just slap his
Right.
name on there and everybody's like, yes, we're back.
Right.
There's a select few of us that will, no matter how many times you screw us over with a weird direction. But
Do you think, regardless of the fact that there's been this continuity, do you think that the Chucky TV series should have started over? Don Mancini, but retold the story over from the beginning, but in television form with new actors. Do you think that's an option, or that may have been something that might have intrigued you?
if the 2019 movie did not come out, I would have been up for that. I think it's too soon to have two reboots, two remakes.
Okay.
And if that was the direction that they had chosen from all along, then that would give a lot more context to why Don Mancini and Jennifer Tilly were so hateful towards the remake the whole time it was in
Right.
production. Because they're like, you bitch, we were going to do that. What the hell? So that would actually be kind of funny. They'd be like, oh, now I get it. You guys
Right.
weren't
I
being
bet you
dicks.
Don Mancini is thrilled that the movie didn't do all that great.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure
And
he
it's
is.
a shame because you know what? To me, there was no lose. There was no
Right.
lose with that. I mean, unless the movie was absolutely garbage, but it wasn't. Some people will say
Yeah.
it will, but or it was,
Yeah.
but I I don't think it was at all. But to me, there was no
Yeah.
losing there. I mean, like I said, they were out of the theaters. They were heading to TV. If the
Yeah.
movie succeeded, if he championed it, if he got the fan base
Yeah.
on the side, like I gotta go give it a shot, maybe it's a cool direction, the movie would have been even more successful. All that does is make the brand of Chucky bigger and better,
Bigger.
and that would
That's
have
right.
made his through line, his path to get back to
Yeah.
theatrical or back to VOD movie, whatever he's trying to do, that much easier. But because
Yeah.
they created this hate campaign against it, all it does to studio heads is say, well, it still fucking sucks. They're not paying to see it. So whatever.
Right.
Good luck with the TV
Right.
series.
Yeah, and that's right. And it doesn't bode well for Mancini either to, you don't want to burn too many bridges. I mean, you don't want to, you can be like, I don't really, but you don't have to be so, you don't have to champion it,
Yeah.
be out there. So I hope you fucking fail, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. And I thought they did a good enough job at making it such a different take on the character and a different take
Same.
on the lore that it
Yeah.
was not stepping on his toes. I mean, from what I
No.
read, MGM, who holds the rights to the first movie, they went to him and they wanted him to produce it and they wanted him to be involved with it, but he didn't want anything to do with it. Now, I could be wrong
Right.
with that, but that was what I had read. So I just don't understand why. You know what I mean? I understand being protective. I understand if you read something, you were like, dude, this is fucked up. Like, you're just going to ruin this. But
Yeah.
they didn't, in my opinion.
No, they didn't. I thought the remake was fine.
Yeah.
It was different. It was modernized.
Yeah. The only major gripe that I had was the look of the doll.
Right. Right. I mean, it could have been a total disaster. Okay. It could have been a total disaster, the biggest disaster, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, it was, I still much prefer the original film.
Oh, same
But
here.
as far as remakes go, it's like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Well, I'll
know what I
always
mean?
champion for remakes. I will always champion those that try to take a classic property and go somewhere different with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there that hate that. They think if you remake it, you got to go textbook ABC all the way to Z, exactly how the original movie was. And every time they do that, all they do is set themselves up to be compared to that original movie every single frame. And you're nope, that's not as good. Nope, it was better in the 80s. Nope, that's not as good.
That's it.
But you take something like this and it's like, hey, we're taking the heart of Child's Play and we're going in a lot of different directions with it. Now it's AI. There's no voodoo. Now Andy is, very much more in an actual friendship with Chucky throughout the movie. Now there's this influence going on. Now Andy has friends, and the mom's not the best mom, and it's going to be a commentary on parenting and the undercurrent of it all. Like, none of that was in the original movie.
No,
That's all new ideas. There's very little that remake has in common with that original movie, and that's that's what I prefer. If you're going to remake something that people love, that's a classic. I mean, why the hell would you do exactly the same thing again?
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, it's, I mean, although I'm not a fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, you know, you got to give credit where credit is due. He made it his own.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
you know, I certainly would not do what he did, but he
Same.
made it his own. They are, especially part 2. Part 1, obviously, I think he probably felt a little tied to be a little like the original. But certainly when he came back to do his Halloween 2, it is distinctly different.
Yes.
It is a 180 completely. And you know, there's something to be said about that. And I'm looking forward to watching this. I want to, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. I want to see, I just hope that, like you, I hope that there is a tone that is set and it stays there. You know, it doesn't, even when you bring back, although I don't know, you know, when you bring back Jennifer Tilly, I mean, and she's Tiffany, right? Is she the voice?
So there's another thing. So in Seed of Chucky,
because how is she in it, but also the voice of the doll? Or am I confused here?
No. You know,
Okay, all right.
You're rightfully confused because that's the direction that they took it. So you have Bride of Chucky, where Jennifer Tilly is playing this character named Tiffany. I
just think of Bonnie from Family Guy. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. A woman from Charles Lee Ray's past, and she's in love with Charles Lee Ray, and they kind of have a hate-love relationship. But anyway, she gets turned into a doll because he kills her, and they're all of a sudden throughout the movie they realize that they're just the dream team. They're the couple straight out of hell. You get to Seed of Chucky, the crazy dark comedy self-aware mess that it is, and even though you had Jennifer Tilly, the actress, playing the character of Tiffany that is now a doll, in Seed of Chucky they go to Hollywood and they find the actual Jennifer Tilly playing herself in the movie. And Tiffany, who was played by Jennifer Tilly by the end of the movie.
Wait. In Seed of Chucky,
yes,
they go to Hollywood.
Yes.
And they find the actual Jennifer Tilly.
Yes.
Playing Tiffany in Seed of Chucky?
No. She's playing herself. She's the actress Jennifer Tilly.
Playing herself.
Yes, she's Jennifer Tilly as herself while simultaneously doing the voice for the doll Tiffany.
Gotcha.
And by the end of the movie, because it's her favorite actress, who amazingly looks and sounds identical to how she did when she was a fucking human, so Tiffany transfers her soul into the body of Jennifer Tilly. So the Jennifer Tilly that you see past Seed
is a fictional version of herself.
Is a fictional version of herself that is embodied by her character Tiffany.
I had no idea about this.
I thought, you know what? I almost feel a little bit bad. I kind of envied the way that you were ignorant to all of this before this chat, because that must have been a much more happy place in life before I just explained all of the fucking travesty that has been going on with this franchise since the early 2000s.
And I mean, and it's not that I don't like, I like Chucky. I do. It's just for whatever reason, after 3, I was like, and then I remember I was in high school. What year did Bride come out? 98? 98, I think.
I'm pretty sure 98.
So I think I was just graduating. I think I was starting college or whatever. And I remember it. I remember seeing it, and I remember being like, what? And seeing like the other doll and a bunch of doll. I was like, and I remember thinking to myself, what? What is
I love Bride of Chucky. I have a blast with Bride of Chucky.
And I'm not saying it's not a good movie because I have only seen bits and pieces of it. I am fully transparent with that. I'm not, I'm not dumb enough to say, no, it's dog shit. Come on. No, I'm simply saying that I have not seen it. I've seen bits and pieces. I saw the trailer and I was like, what's going on here? So there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And that was something I did not, that explains it then. Because I think in the back of my head thought, why is she in the movie but also voicing the doll? I kind of thought that, but didn't really care enough to investigate further. Yeah. And so that's what, and she's certainly going to be in the new. I mean, she was posting a bunch of photos of her and Mancini. Yeah. I saw here in Toronto, which of course is where they shot it. I even think I'll have to check with Bruce, but I think White's might have supplied the gear for it. I'll have to check with him if his company did Chucky or not. But I mean,
I love seeing you like oh yeah, my head just blew up because
my virgin ears. I'm no longer a Chucky virgin. Well, that's not true. I have to watch the movies, but I'm the foreplay has begun. You see, that's what's happened.
We're pulling out all the weird toys.
That's it. All the weird toys, and you just pulled out the butt plug, and I'm like, whoa, hang on a second here. Okay, what the fuck is this? It's just strange. And so you're right. Now, when you think of this, how do you weave that part of the Chucky mythology into a serious Chucky story and make it feel like, how do you bring back this woman and make it feel like we're taking shit seriously?
Yeah, that's going to be the struggle there. Now, he did a good job with it in Curse. Curse felt like they were acknowledging the timeline and the canon just enough to let you know that, hey, we're not retconning anything. This is still continuing, but we're not going to focus on it too much. We're not going to shine the spotlight on how crazy this shit is. We're just going to, when Tiffany shows up, you don't even think Jennifer Tilly, the actress, is in front of me. You just think, oh, that's Tiffany again. And that's what they're going to have to do. So I don't know. They haven't said to what degree these people are coming back. Are they coming back for one episode? Are they coming back for the whole show? Are they just going to pop up here and there? So I really don't know, but that's what they're going to have to do. If they set a tone to where they're going for, okay, we're going for the classic Child's Play. You got this new kid. He's older. Chucky's going to have some fun with him. They're going to fuck up the bullies. And then eventually he's going to take it too far. This kid's going to have to get the town on his side. And who knows, maybe the whole suburban town is going to be hunting down this doll.
That's going to be Halloween cool. Kills. Yeah, Chucky kills.
Exactly. Yeah, Chucky did it first.
Can you imagine Chucky kills?
Yeah, exactly. So if that's what they're going for, great. But whenever you bring Nika in, don't focus too much on the fact that, or don't shine the spotlight on the fact that she's embodied with Charles Lee Ray right now.
Right.
When you bring Tiffany back, don't mention Jennifer Tilly.
Right.
When you bring back Alex Vincent, when you bring back Kyle, act like we're just following along with their story that we didn't get to see the end of after 2. You know what I mean? So there's a way that he can do it. It's just he got to be like quietly acknowledging his previous work. If he's just like, hey, we're back, there's no way they're going to be able to keep that tone going. And I'm only assuming from the trailer that that's going to be what the tone is. Maybe from the opening credits, this thing is batshit weird and it fits right in, but
maybe. And to be fair, I haven't seen, in its entirety, a lot of the films that you're talking about. What was Alex Vincent's role in Cult? Because it was he was introduced in Curse and then he was more in Cult. Was he there? Was he just kind of in the background? Was he a main player?
He was a pretty major part in Cult. So what happened in Curse? So Curse was the one where I said they the doll gets sent to this house that Fiona Dourif is at, and that's the kind of the setting and the story of that movie is him trying to kill off her family members, and then you eventually find out why. So by the end of Curse, you get this little post-credit scene to where the Chucky doll is sent somewhere else, and he cuts his way out of the box, and the camera pans around, and then you realize that he's in Alex Vincent's apartment, and he's there to finish the job on Andy, but Andy has already kind of predicted that he was going to show up for him, and he blows his fucking head off, and then it's just like, whoosh, see you on the next movie. and you're like, holy shit, Alex Vincent's coming back, and he just fucked up Chucky.
Right. You must have been so excited.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but you must have been, because you really liked Curse.
Yeah.
You must have been like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was up over the moon. And then Cult comes out, and Cult is telling this story to where Fiona Dourif's character, by the end of Curse, she gets accused of all of the murders because they don't believe that this doll's fucking doing it. And so Cult takes place kind of like Dream Warriors in this insane asylum, and she's there because she's been sentenced for all the murders of Curse. So you have that storyline of her being in there and Chucky trying to get into this insane asylum to finish off the job. Simultaneously, Alex Vincent has the severed head of the Chucky Prime, I guess, if you will, that was trying to come after him at the end of Curse. And once he finds out what's going on, he's trying to get into this insane asylum to save Fiona Dourif.
Okay.
But by the end of the movie, because they wrote his character like a fucking moron, he gets locked into one of the cells in this asylum. Chucky wins. Chucky gets inside of inside of Fiona Dourif, and now Alex Vincent is locked into this insane asylum, which doesn't really fare for much of a story, because they're gonna be like, who the fuck are you? Why are you in here? Get out of here.
So that's the end of Cult. He's locked in there.
He's locked in there. Chucky wins. Chucky's back into a human body, and now Fiona Dourif and Jennifer Tilly drive off, and that's the end of Cult.
So at the end of Cult, Chucky is back in a human body.
Yeah, he's inside of Fiona Dourif.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Fiona Dourif and Jennifer Tilly, outside of this asylum, they're like, Chucky and Tiffany's reunited. They drive off. Alex Vincent.
Thelma and Louise.
What the hell? Alex Vincent is locked. My daughter loves the little Alexa announcement, and so she does it all the time. She'll be in bed, and she, you hear, "Mommy, I love you." Go to bed. Shut up. Yeah. So by the end of the movie, you have Fiona Dourif that is now embodied with Chucky. You have Jennifer Tilly, who is Tiffany. They drive off. Alex Vincent is now locked into this insane asylum. And then you have the post-credit stinger in this movie, which is Elise McCarthy, who's Kyle. She shows up at Alex Vincent's apartment where the severed head of Prime Chucky is. And he's like, Kyle? And then the movie ends.
Kind of makes me wonder, and it's fascinating hearing you go through this. And I appreciate you doing this, by the way, because, I was going to ask you, do you think maybe a better thing would have been to make the TV show about Alex and Chucky, and but hearing you talk about this, it's like it's almost too late for that. Yeah. Like, I think if they were going to, how cool would it have been if there was no Curse, no Cult, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe the last one was Seed, whatever, a long time ago, and then they decide to kind of do a semi reboot or whatever, and they make a TV show, and Alex Vincent comes back, but it almost feels like they've backed themselves into a corner potentially, where they've got to follow what they did in Cult, because that's not that long ago. But now it's kind of like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, what's the end point for these characters? I mean, because we're following this new kid now. And when I watched that, what was this? It was almost like 3 minutes long, this trailer, and I don't see any connective tissue to anything you've just talked to me about.
Yeah, me either. That's what I'm saying. Like I even said that, I think, in my reaction. I'm like, okay, what I'm worried about is that we know all these characters are coming back and they're not showing any of it. So are they not showing any of it because they're trying to draw everybody in with what they know everybody's going to be cool with, and then they're going to hit us with the bait and switch? Or do they actually have some cool things in mind and they just don't want to blow it for everybody?
That's it. Because now that I'm hearing all this and I'm thinking back to the trailer, I'm thinking to myself, I didn't see any of that. Like, I didn't even see a tease of that. Yeah. Like this, if I didn't know anything, which is kind of the case, but if I didn't know anything about it at all, and I saw this looks like, I got to be honest with you, especially the way the trailer opens with the kid getting the doll at the garage sale. It almost it feels like a reboot. I mean, in some sort of way, it has that. Like, if I knew nothing about Chucky, nothing, like literally nothing, and I don't know a lot, but I know some. But if I knew nothing about it, And I just kind of knew about the doll, whatever. And I watched this trailer. I could totally see this being the beginning of a new version of it. Kid finds this doll at a garage sale, picks it up, doesn't know the origins, whatever, and you go from there, because I don't see anything in here that's connecting to anything from the past yet. Obviously they're going to do that. I mean, for God's sakes, everything we saw in the trailer could be the first episode for all we know.
Yeah.
Right. And likely even maybe. But yeah, that's what I find that interesting. It really does, to me, feel like it could be just a reboot from what we saw, because we're not seeing anything. We don't see Alex, we don't see Kyle, we don't see Tiffany. What I wonder why they would. Well, I guess it's like what you said. Maybe they want to hold off, but why hold off if we know they're back?
Yeah, I know. And that's the biggest question for me. I mean, I've been cautiously optimistic for this show for a long time. I've been talking about it without knowing dick about it for a couple of years now. And then it's really only been over the past couple of months that we're actually getting hard details, who's coming back, when the show's going to be. Then you get that little teaser, which all I really gathered from the teaser was, okay, the doll looks cool. And then you get the full trailer and it's like, oh, okay, looks like classic Child's Play. It's going to be a suburban kind of thing. Chucky's out having fun. But then that in the back of my head, I'm like, but we know all this stuff's coming, and they're not showing any of it. They're not teasing any of it. They're not even giving context or details to any of it. And really, I don't even think they've ever officially said this continues from Colt. I think we just know because that's what Don Mancini's done all along, is he's never gone back and said, well, this takes place before this, or we're negating this. I think that's just my muscle memory saying, well, obviously this takes place after Colt. I could be wrong, but but
to your point, maybe the only reason why and that's interesting that you bring that up, is it's nowhere anywhere out there, as far as you know, from Mancini or anybody close to the production saying that, yes, this is picking up after Cult.
Yeah, it might be. I haven't read everything, but they're not they're certainly not marketing it heavily like the next chapter of Chucky. It's just like, it's almost subtly marketed like its own thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just saying, that it feels almost like it's the beginning of something new. It's like it's beginning over again. Kid picks up a doll he finds at a garage sale. That's how, whereas in the first movie, it was, the mom buys the doll from, the back alley from the guy who's selling this thing. This is a reboot where the kid just picks up the doll, but where does this doll come from? And maybe that's the journey through the series. You find out where I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but I could totally interpret it that way, because all the kills and characters I'm seeing in the trailer look like just random kills. They're not connected to anybody or anything from the past. It's the new characters in this show. But like I said, I mean, it just could be the first. I mean, that trailer could just be the first episode.
Yeah, it could be. And a lot of times with TV show trailers, that tends to be the case. It's
right.
Pilot heavy.
Yeah. No, for sure. And of course, before we go over to questions, I want to also say that I hope there, as I was telling you before we began the show, I hope there is a real good reason why this kid's got the doll in school, because he looks a little old. Out. Well, you know what I mean? He's there in biology class about to dissect a frog, which I remember doing in biology class in high school. And I did not have any, 2.5 foot doll sitting beside me. And it was always easier to believe, like I said to you, that Andy from the first movie, or even the second movie, but certainly the first movie, would have. In the second movie he wanted nothing to do with it. But in the first movie, you believe that he could take a doll to school, which he did, because he was like 5 or 6, and even though 5 or 6 year old boys generally don't do that either, it's more believable because he's so young. But this kid looks like he's fucking 15 or 16. I mean, I hope there's a good enough reason why that doll is sitting with him at that biology table beyond just, well, we need Chucky to cut up the, the frog,
Yeah, I'm hoping, like we were talking about before we went live, I'm really hoping it's something as simple as there's a talent show or something like they showed where he takes him on stage and that all takes place the same day. He just had to bring the doll for the talent show. Like,
yes.
But yeah, that stood out to me a lot. That was one of the few, I don't talk a whole lot in my trailer reactions. I tend to watch and kind of, all right, I'll talk about it afterwards. That was one of the moments where I was like, the fuck is this kid doing with a doll in high school? Like, it just immediately, I was like, what?
It's true. Like, what the hell is this shit? Why is this guy got this doll? It's true though. It did stand out to me. It was one of the things that stood out to me as a little strange.
I mean, even if you want to tell me, which obviously they show in the trailer that he does get bullied, but even if you want to try to tell me that wouldn't get his ass kicked all throughout the day by other people, just the teacher alone coming up like, can you not put the doll right next to you when you're dissecting this frog? Like, can you put it in your locker? Can we put it in the back of the classroom? Like,
well, it's so intrusive. It's like, it's like having a little brother sitting there or something.
I know you got picked last for lab buddies, but this is ridiculous.
But this little, like, I mean, you totally would have had, and I mean, God, it was, when I was in high school, it would have been like, I can't even say what they would have said, but it would have been a lot of shit tossed that way. And especially in high school too. Although maybe not. Maybe high school might have been a bit different. Maybe because kids are a little more mature. I mean, maybe it was elementary. I don't know. No. It would have been bad. It would have been bad. So hopefully there's a good enough reason for it. Let's go over and get some of these questions from you guys. So if you guys have questions for Cody in regards to Child's Play or Chucky or whatever, fire them in. Now's your time to do it, man. There were two super chats that did come in. From Matthew Foresi sends in $4.99 and says, Chucky, Freddy, and Michael should never be shown in a sympathetic light. Any attempt to do so is a failure on the parts of the director and writers. I
concur.
I agree, and so does Cody. Intel Wild sends in a super chat and says, I'm going to say it if Dave and the chat room won't. But the Chucky franchise is doggy shit. Well, I will disagree with the first couple of movies. Anyway, for me, I really did enjoy. But I understand that Chucky is not necessarily for everybody.
That's fine.
Let's see here.
More for me.
There you go. That's what it is. Max Pokebra 27, Max Pokebra. I've never seen you in here before, Max. Welcome. I think I'm saying that last name right. $5 says, they bring back all these characters, but Glenda are just nowhere. Well, if I did not have this discussion with Cody, I would not know who the hell you were talking about. And now I do. Cody, you can take this one.
I would say not to speak too soon. Because if there's any environment for Don Mancini to decide, especially with the cultural shift that we have had here lately over the past couple of years with the huge focus on acceptance, representation, all that kind of stuff.
100%.
If there is any time that he is going to pull the Glenda card, it is now. So I'm with you because, if you're somebody that views Glenda as a great representation, then by all means, that's awesome. And maybe if he brings him back, I hope he does it in a better way. But just strictly based off of what I have seen as a character and the way that they wrote and represented that character, that will derail this show for the majority of Child's Play fans. The second, like I said, it's Jar Jar Binks. The second Glenn and Glenda shows up, you're going to be able to hear the groan across America. It's gonna be like, what the fuck was that? And then all the Child's Play fans, fuck.
What would you do if at the end of season 10, the end of episode 10 of the first season, in walks Glenn and Glenda, and it cuts to black and the credits roll.
The show's awesome all the way up until that last moment. It's like,
all the way up.
Fuck.
Yep, all the way up till that moment right there. That's the you're like, oh no way. You know, what'd be really cool though, is if at the end of if the season is really good, and at the end of the 10th episode, in walks Andy's mom or the cop.
Chris,
you know what I mean? Like that would be cool. That would be cool.
Absolutely.
They have to have reached out to them.
Oh, they have to have. I mean, and they're not. The good thing about the Child's Play franchise for Don Mancini is that it's not like any of these actors are really doing anything nowadays. So I don't think he really has to twist their arm too much to be like, hey, you want to make money? So it's Seventh Heaven. Yeah, exactly. It's not like there's a Jamie Lee Curtis waiting out there somewhere where it's like, do you think they could possibly get her for this? It's like, no, you could get every fucking one of them. If anybody says no, I want to hear why. So yeah, that would be cool. But if they, oh my God, I don't even want to speak it into existence. If they bring Glenda back as the tease for season 2, get ready for a barrage of YouTube videos of rants from Chucky fans.
Wow. I'm going to have to look up Glenn and Glenda because I'm not familiar with them. Yeah. So I'm going to have to look them up right now. And then every now and then throughout the next year, I'm just going to secretly send you DMs with their faces.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Or if you're having a bad day, I'll say, could be worse.
I mean, it's just you have to watch the movie just to know what I'm talking about. Like,
that's Seed or
Seed
Bride?
of Chucky.
Seed.
That is Seed
I'm
of Chucky.
Do it.
So, I mean, they introduced this character. The first time that we see him in the movie, he's pissing himself, and there's a guy who's like, "Hey, you're pissing your pants," and he's got a British accent. He's voiced by Billy Boyd. Which nothing wrong with Billy Boyd, but you have
no.
The spawn of Chucky is British.
Right.
So it's a little odd just for the context of it. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
He pisses himself constantly. He's got "Made in Japan" written on his wrist. So he thinks that his parents are like samurai warriors.
Right.
He defeats Chucky with kung fu by the end of the movie. Yeah. With Glenn. And then by the end of the movie, Glenn and Glenda. Glenn is the sweet, caring, I can't believe my parents are killers, we need to stop doing this side. Glenda is the batshit crazy, I'm going to fucking murder all of you side.
Right.
And by the end of Seed, when Jennifer Tilly is now embodied by Tiffany, Glenn and Glenda somehow are split up and they embody a young boy child and a young girl child. And that is the last that we have seen of them. And they have not acknowledged them since. So I don't even know what way you bring back Glenn and Glenda, because now they're two separate people, and they're humans, and I don't know. See, just by entering that character into the fray, you're going to need 3 fucking episodes just to explain what the hell's going on.
Right.
And God help anybody that is just watching the Chucky franchise that hasn't been along for this roller coaster ride, and they're just like, what the fuck is going on here?
That would be me. That would totally be me. CBMF Production sends in $10. Thank you, buddy. Says, can you see this series taking the route of so many other horror franchises recently, like Halloween, Candyman, Exorcist, where they only make the first film necessary to watch for new viewers? Well, we were just talking about that.
No. If any franchise holds its canon, its timeline dear, it's this one, because Don Mancini has been there for every single one of them. So he's
the one constant.
There is no piece of his story that he's going to deem irrelevant or deem non-canon. I mean, if for Christ's sake, if he hasn't said by now that Seed is no longer canon, there's nothing that's ever going to be disregarded by that man.
Right. And he's that one constant.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems to me that, do you think he's aware of the lows? I mean, do you think he likes everything he puts out, or do you think he's kind of like, we missed the boat with Seed?
I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist, but I have never seen anything with him acknowledging anything as a flaw or a missing the boat or anything like that.
Right.
Like I said, even Glenn and Glenda, for all intents and purposes, as far as Child's Play fandom is concerned, is the low point of this series, and he still champions that character. So if you're still going to take your biggest loss and say, to me, this is a win, that's kind of his approach to all of it, which I respect, but it's also frustrating at the same time, because it's like, damn, dude, you can your fans don't like it. I appreciate that you don't, but
he's got to have heard some sort of feedback.
Oh yeah, he has to. I mean, he has to know that Seed is hated, and Colt was very split. And you know, I don't know that wasn't as loud as Seed as far as the cry from all the fans, but he has to know. He has to.
He's got to know. Frank Riker sends in $5. Thank you, Frank. Cody, how iconic is Chucky's good guy look? Would it be a travesty if they changed his look entirely, like face and hair and outfit?
Yeah, it would be a travesty. I mean, that goes for any iconic character, but especially horror icons. I mean, if Freddy threw away his red and green vest and started wearing overalls or some shit, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? Where's the sweater? So good guy doll is the same exact way. It's got that's part of the reason why a lot of fans were excited when you see this teaser. It's like, holy shit, that looks just like the doll from 2. It looks just like the classic good guy doll. And for just a simple design, it's sacred.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. For the reasons that you stated. Nick sends in $5 and says, DNC, Dave and Cody. Tom Holland is busy at the moment finishing off his novel and future screenplay sequel to Fright Night. I didn't know that.
Please let that
With
happen.
original cast from part 1 only returning. Truth to that? I did not know that.
I have heard that he's writing something. I don't know what timeline we're looking at. I don't know, even if he does get this written, like what studio is going to be looking to back this, how major this would be. But yes, it is real. He's writing a sequel to Fright Night. Now, there was a sequel to Fright Night that had the original characters in it. I've never seen it, but I guess he wasn't involved with that one in any way. So yeah, it's very exciting because I love Fright Night. I love the original.
So maybe this is a pretend 2 doesn't exist. We're just doing another 2.
That's what it seems like.
Another version. Fascinating. Looks like it's a pattern that's starting to take place. Yeah. KC McNatt sends in $5 and says, not saying it will happen, but what would you think Tyler, kid from Child's Play 3, coming back? Or how would you think about the kid Tyler from Child's Play 3 coming back?
I mean, I would be fine with it because I love Child's Play 3. I mean, I'm kind of on an island with that one. That's one of the more maligned sequels, but I've always had a special place in my heart for the third one. And I don't hate Tyler as a character either. Tyler's the young black kid that he's trying to take over. So if he came back, it would be cool, but that appearance would not be that exciting. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be something to where they could tease it, or, you know, the Child's Play fans wouldn't jump up and cheer for that. They'd be like, oh, that's cool. Right. You know, half of them would be that way. Half of them would be like, oh, that's cool. The other half would be like, oh, fuck this kid.
Right. Is there any other character other than the mom and the cop that they could bring back that would make you go, ooh?
No, that's it. That's really it. I mean, all the other characters that would elicit excitement have already come back, and they've already been confirmed for this and everything like that. I mean,
what if Phil
back from the dead?
Just hear me out. Hey, if Glenn and Glenda can exist in this universe, Phil can come back as far as I'm concerned. Just bring Phil. Phil comes back in like a Phil doll. There's like a Phil or some sort of doll that's made. And then Phil this is great, I'm telling you. A doll, there's another doll. It's like a good guy doll, but it's not. It's like Chucky's rival. And the spirit of Phil is embodied into this doll, and Phil is coming back to get his revenge on Chucky.
Yeah. And then the season ends with Chucky about to kill the main character, and then he gets lifted up by a pulley, and the Phil doll's holding it, and he says, how's it hanging, Chucky? And then cut to credits.
Yes. Yeah, I'm telling you, that would make people go, what? Are you kidding me? What? And on his sweater or whatever, it just says Philip.
Yep.
So you have Chucky and Philip.
There you go. That's the only thing that Chucky doesn't have is a rival doll. So you're on the money there. That's the only place that we have left to go.
That's what I'm saying. Dave. Mancini, if you are watching, make it Phil. Make it Phil. I'm telling you, he's Phil's spirit, his consciousness, his soul, if you will, has been riding in limbo for the last 30 years, and then finally it goes. There's these dolls that are being made, and it just goes into one, and Phil's like he's back. I'm sure. Is the actor alive still?
I don't know.
I don't know. Was he? Wait, the actor that was Phil. Who was Phil? That wasn't what I think it was, right? Child's Play 2. That was 1 second here. I don't think it was who I thought it was. I have this face in my head. No. It wasn't who I thought it was. Garrett Graham is still alive. Still alive. He'd be 71.
Let's tweet him.
But he's, according to IMDb, he's still alive. Yeah, let's tweet. Yeah,
tweet him a time code and just be like, thoughts. Maybe.
According to IMDb, according to IMDb, that is, his last role was 9 years ago. So maybe he's retired. I don't know. But hey, money. And it's just a voice acting job. He doesn't have to get into the suit and play. Not that voice acting is easy.
It's time to return to the role.
I know a little thing about that. It's not as easy as it looks, kids. But certainly he doesn't have to come back and, play him physically or be on camera. I'm telling you, Phil versus Chucky, Chucky versus Phil.
There you go. I'm
Phil
on board.
All right. Sounds
Season
good.
2, the showdown.
Yes, I'm telling you, man. Let's make it happen. Let's see here. Okay, super chat from Furious Thrash. I like that. Sends in $10. Says, if it's revealed that Chucky killed his children, would you like that?
Chucky killed his own children?
His children? Does Chucky have children?
Oh, that he killed Glenn and Glenda.
Glenn and Glenda.
I would love that. I would love that because it would it would add a completely new demented level to Chucky. And it would also get rid of Glenn and Glenda. So I'm 100% for that idea, Furious Thrash.
What if Phil kills Glenn and Glenda? And that's the catalyst. Phil kills Glenn and Glenda, and that's the catalyst that brings... That's that you killed my children, whatever, right? Could always do something like that. Let's see here. Howard D sends in $5 and says, if they bring everyone back just to kill them off, I'd hate that.
Oh,
how would you feel about that? If they
no,
you don't think so?
No.
Out of the big 3, 4, 5, I don't know. Who do you think is at a point where you'd be like, I think maybe to raise the stakes, to give it some bottom, what character would you like to see killed off?
I wouldn't like to see any of them killed.
Well, that's true.
But
I mean, from a story perspective, it's like, oh shit,
If one of them has to die to bring stakes to season 2, it would have to be Kyle. Because that would give a reason for Alex Vincent to completely raise the stakes of his vengeance, his whole path against Chucky. Because Chucky's already robbed his entire life from him, and presumably, you don't get to see too much of his personal life, but from the little bit that we get to see, presumably Kyle is really his only friend and his only kind of tether to humanity, I guess. So if you took her out, now all bets are off. Now I'm coming at you with everything that I've got.
Right.
So story-wise, that would make sense, but it would be kind of depressing to wait decades to finally have Kyle back and then they get killed. It's like, oh, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Right,
but yeah.
Okay, I hear you. Let's see, $5. Wait, did I get that? Oh no, a couple others. Jeez.
I think Louis P. TV was where we left off.
Louis P. TV. Yep. $5 says, what if they brought back Da Silva from 3? Da Silva from 3?
Da Silva is kind of his love interest in 3. She's the female recruit that calls the colonel guy who's kind of a dick. She's like, I said, you asshole, sir.
Yep.
So that would be cool. That's really for a kind of a minor character in 3, which is kind of a maligned film. She's probably the biggest character left to bring back. Right. So if they are going to bring anybody else back for aside from the mom and Chris Sarandon, that is it. They do. Yeah,
that is it. And let's see what she's. Child's Play 3. Child's Play 3 was 91, like 1 year later. Wow.
Yeah, it was like 9 months later or something crazy. It was really quick.
Wow, the doll does look a little different in 3 than 2. Not a lot, but a little different. Oh, there she is. Perry Reeves. Perry Reeves is she's on a television series called Paradise City, where she plays Natalie.
She was in the movie Old School with Will Ferrell. She was Will Ferrell's wife.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's like 20 years ago.
Doesn't feel like it. Oh my God, has it been 20 years?
2003.
Oh, wow.
So 18.
Jesus Christ.
That's a long time. Holy shit.
I'm reaching that point in my life where I'm just like, there's no fucking way that was decades ago. That was like last month, right?
Yeah, things are just starting to blur. It's just, no, come on. That's not that long ago, is it? Yeah. But she's around. Yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't know if Mancini would think to do that, but that could be, that's an option. At the very least. Where the hell are you guys here? There you guys are. The underscore 1KQ sends in it's $2 to some. I don't know where you are around the world, buddy, but thanks very much. Says, hi, I'm Philip. Want to play? Maybe his instead of saying I'm Philip, want to play, maybe it should just be, hi, I'm Philip. Or no, hi, I'm Philip. How's it hanging? It just should be like that.
Yep.
How's it hanging? That's what it should be. Chris Baber sends in $2.99. Thank you, Chris. Says, great room tonight. Cheers. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Howard D sends in $5. Says, or Andy gets mortally wounded. Does the chant and inhabits a doll. Andy versus Chucky season 2.
Damn, I'd be up for that.
A Chucky doll or a Philip doll?
Wow. A Ken doll.
Oh, a Cabbage Patch doll from
Care
the 80s.
Bear.
Yeah. Budget just went up for rights. That'd be
a pretty cool direction to take it.
That would be
cool. Andy has to inhabit a doll to finally take him down.
Yes.
And now I got to figure out how the fuck to get out of here.
I actually don't mind that. As funny as it sounds. That's an interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully Mancini's
got
watching.
A lot of good ideas here at the end.
Pretty good.
Mancini's going to have to give us some royalties.
I think so. Max Pokebra 27 sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. Oh, it's Pokebra. Okay. Pokebra. Thank you, buddy. Pokebra here. Do you think the show will present more of Chucky's philosophy on why he kills? We were kind of talking about that.
I don't care why he kills. He kills because it's fucking fun. I mean, Chucky is like Freddy. They just love to do it. They just have fun with it the whole time. They're cracking up the whole time. They're dropping one-liners. They're smiling. They're laughing. They're having a grand old time. Yeah. I don't need any more context than that.
Right.
So I really don't know. I don't know what their motivation for going back is. I don't know what answer they're trying to give us, what question they're trying to answer. I genuinely don't know. I don't need any more context.
I feel
you're answering questions I'm not asking.
That's it. And I feel the same way. I obviously Chucky is I've mentioned this on my channel too, when I talk about Michael Myers and the mystique and the ambiguity and all that and how it's so integral to his backstory or lack thereof. It's we should never know why he's doing what he's doing. That's the foundation he was built on. But at the end, and I've often said that we do know why Chucky's doing what he's doing. Chucky, Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Ghostface, Leprechaun, they're not like Michael Myers in the sense of that we don't know really why they're doing what they're doing. We really do know why Chucky's doing what he's doing. I mean, he was a serial killer. He was just a bad dude. Yeah. He was just a psychotic bad dude who figured out how to do voodoo and got his soul into a doll. I don't think there's really anything that goes deeper than that. And I think in order to give it more clarity, you would have to then what are our options, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, we can take a serious approach and we can really dive into the psychology of it. Why do people become serial killers? Well, sometimes it's a matter of nature versus nurture, and depending on how they grew up and the parents and all that, and family. But then that's creating possibly empathy, and you don't want that. You don't want to feel sorry for him as a kid. I don't want to see 5-year-old Charles Lee Ray sitting there being bullied, whatever, because now I kind of feel sorry for him, and I don't think it's necessary. He's just it just is. He was a serial killer. We're introduced to him on the streets of Chicago. I believe it was Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. In 1988, there he is running around the corner, running away from this cop. And because he's the
Lakeshore Strangler, I think.
Thank you. I was going to say, it is Lakeshore. That's right. We have a lakeshore. Well, I think a lot of big cities that are by lakes have lake shores. Toronto has a lakeshore. The Lakeshore Strangler. I think you're right. And that's it. He's a bad dude. I think the real focus should just be on Chucky and whatnot. I mean, I understand. Like I can intellectualize the appeal to kind of go back and maybe explore his murders before he was Chucky, but it's not really needed.
Yeah.
I mean, who is Charles Lee Ray without Chucky anyway?
Yeah, it's fluff.
Exactly. No, I agree. Randall Perkins sends in $5, says Jesse and Jade could come back, or bring in Method Man. Get revenge for Redman's death in Seed. I will pass it over to Cody.
No, and no. Jesse and Jade could come back. They're not really fan favorite characters, though. I love Bride of Chucky, but oftentimes people's negative with that movie is very quickly Jesse and Jade. They're like, I don't give a fuck about them. It's like, well, you're not really supposed to in that movie. They're just a catalyst. They're a mirror representation of a good couple against Chucky and Tiffany.
Right.
They could come back again. I don't think that would really elicit a whole lot of excitement from anybody. If they tease Jesse and Jade, nobody's going to give a fuck. They're going to be like, oh, right. Okay, whatever.
Okay. KC McNatt sends in $5. Thank you, buddy. Wait, did I just read that? No, I didn't. Says, do you see Chucky dying at the end of this first season, or is there a chance they will have a cliffhanger in hopes of getting a season 2? I personally think there is almost 100% that there will be a cliffhanger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's textbook. Yeah. If they ended season 1 with a nice little bow and that's it for Chucky, it's like you're shooting yourself in the wallet at that point. If it's awesome, it's like, well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? That's it. Exactly. Could not agree more. Unimpressive Media sends in €2 and says, Phil the Doll and Ben Tramer in a buddy cop film. Phil the Doll and Ben Tramer in a buddy cop film. Maybe. CBMF Productions sends in $5 and says, theory. At the end of the season, Chucky accidentally says his chant wrong and spawns a Sharknado from the sky. Sci-fi cinematic universe. Oh, God. I doubt that will happen. Maybe, but who knows? Maybe if Mancini is, I love sharks.
I love sharks. Nixon, I assume this is supposed to be said, sends in $5 and says, do you think there's any definitive way to kill Chucky now that he can possess multiple things? I bet there's a doll whose only job is to stay alive.
Well,
it does kind of become strange, what is if he can do anything and everything and there's very little sort of stakes, where do you go? How does this end?
I think the only way story-wise that you could ever make fans believe that you could take out Chucky is if there's some spell somewhere that can expel the evil. But then again, that's very easy to explain in a season 2. It's like, oh, well, there's a reversal for that spell. So I think Chucky is like you were saying earlier, the kind of the goofiness of the whole premise makes all of that much more forgivable.
Right.
Yeah, you can never kill him. I mean, you could go and you could put every single Chucky doll that's inhabited right now into a shredder and burn all the remains. But then all they got to do is create a doll in the next one and say a chant and he's back. So it's part of the charm of the character. Chucky's forever.
Yeah, no, I got you. And it works because of Yeah, there's an absurdity to it, you know.
And there's even a line in the end of Bride of Chucky where at the very tail end of the movie where they have him at gunpoint, and he's like, "Go ahead and pull it. I'll be back. I always come back."
Right,
but
right.
dying is such a bitch, and then they kill him.
What movie's that?
Bride of Chucky.
Bride of Chucky. Okay.
Yeah, so that just embodies it right there. He's just like, all right, fucking kill me, whatever. This is gonna suck, but I'll see you next time.
Yeah, it's true. It is very true. The horror counselor says, Dave and Cody, do you think the key to making Chucky great again, is to make him simple? Ever since 3, Chucky has been over the top, and the only time he was simple was in Curse, which you enjoyed.
I think he operates best when it's simple. I think whenever you try to complicate everything and get things convoluted, it takes away from the charm of the simplistic concept of a killer doll. Right. I mean, you could only run that idea into the ground so much before it starts to get stale. I mean, that's what people started to say around Child's Play 3. They're like, the fucking doll and Andy again. But but if you have enough good surrounding characters with him, like if you have him in this show and you're fleshing it out in this suburban neighborhood with a lot of really interesting side characters, and they all have their own little weird quirks about them, and you know, say he goes to kill somebody and finds out this guy's a fucking creep in the whole episode, you know, there's all these little things that you could do in a TV series that would make that simple concept kind of have a little bit more a little bit more gas in the tank. But yeah, I think he works better when he's by himself, or whenever he's mostly by himself, just doing what Chucky does. When you start incorporating, you know, kids with split personalities and a gender confusion and a wife that inhabits her favorite actress that looks exactly like her, and all these weird things, it stretches the silliness to a point where everything is just ridiculous.
I gotcha. All right, we'll go for a few more minutes. You okay for a few more minutes?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. What else we got? I think I got all the super chats so far, so that's good. I don't believe I missed any. So let's see if we can pick up
we're up to date.
A couple of Rick the Unlovable. Rick, you're lovable. Don't be so hard on yourself. Have you guys ever heard of the channel Red Letter Media? It's about 2 people, Mike and Jay, just talking about movies. I recommend checking out the Half in the Bag episodes. They're absolutely hilarious. I have heard of Red Letter Media, but I am not familiar with their content. Thank you very much, Rick the Lovable.
Same. I've never watched any of their videos. The only time I ever clicked on their video was when they had released a review or something on that movie, The Fanatic, with John Travolta.
Yeah,
because somebody let me know. They're like Red Letter Media talked about your review, and I was like, oh really? And I clicked, and all they did was just post thumbnails of people that reviewed it, and so mine was one of the thumbnails, and I was like, I got you. Well, they didn't really talk about my review; they just showed my
thumbnail right there. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Warren Armour says Chucky really is a dude playing another dude disguised as another dude.
Yep.
I guess it's kind of true in some ways. That is very, very true. Rob Thidoff says, Dave and Cody, do you think a serious style cartoon would work for Freddy, Jason, Chucky, Michael, or other slasher characters? You know, it's funny you say that. I think Chucky might be ripe for an animated series. What do you think?
I think the only franchise that I would kind of be on board for that with would be Evil Dead. I think Evil Dead's zany enough to where you could do an animated Ash series and go balls out, and it would be kind of fun. I don't know if I would want Chucky in animated. To me, that would be just one more nail in the coffin. It's like, well, now you're never going to be live action again.
But he'd be like, shit, I'm a cartoon. Fuck.
There's the twist. At the end of season 1, they kill the doll, but he has a chant and embodies a cartoon character.
Right.
He's in the TV, like, I'm still alive, bitch.
Yeah. They could cross him over with like Family Guy and Simpsons.
Stewie.
You damn yellow bitch.
Yeah. He embodies Stewie. And then whatever Jennifer Tilly's character, she embodies that.
That's right. But then he goes over to Bonnie and is like, come here. You sound familiar. What are you doing here?
You have the voice of an angel.
Hey, Bonnie, what's going on? Oh, that'd be so funny. I haven't watched Family Guy in a while. I gotta watch that again. It's such a guilty pleasure.
Oh yeah, same here.
Seth Warwick says, well, there is a Child's Play cartoon. They show it in 1 and 3. Oh, I guess on the TV. Yeah, The Good Guy. Yeah, I got to admit though, whenever I watch that first Child's Play and Andy's eating his Good Guy cereal and they show that live action fucking dude come out in the gigantic Good Guy.
The
Good Guy. It's fucking terrifying. Creepy as hell. That is terrifying. That right there should be a fucking show. I mean, that is terrifying.
That's why he made the breakfast the way that he did with the 10 pounds of butter and spilling half a gallon of milk, because he was petrified. He was frozen with fear.
That's it. That's so disgusting. Oh my God. Let's see here. Is it Zari Lane says, I think the OG Chucky, I think that the OG Chucky that's being held hostage at Andy's house is going to be a great aspect for the show, since it's the original Chucky from the timeline before all the minions.
Yeah, they got to do something with it, but I don't know what. I mean, presumably he's with Kyle, because Kyle shows up at the house at the end of Cult with the severed head, and he's like, Kyle? And Andy's locked up. So, I mean, they've got to do something with that head.
Yeah. Got to be something they got to do. Let's see here. Tiffany Moses Shante said, Tiffany Moses Shante says, Freddy would make a great cartoon. Yeah, I mean, I think there's potential with Freddy. I think it all comes down to, can you make it really rated R? Like, how dark can you, you'd have to go very, very dark, but who knows? Casey McNatt says they actually made Chucky into a comic. I forget what the comic was called. Do you remember that, Cody? A Chucky comic?
No, I want to say Cecil showed it off on a couple of his videos. I know he's done a lot of comic book horror series reviews and stuff like that, but I've never seen it, never read it, and to be honest with you, before I saw his thumbnail, I probably never even knew it existed.
Okay, fair enough. Barry Kicks Ass, apparently, says, I'm just busting your balls, Barry. I didn't know Hellraiser had a space movie. There was a
the fourth one, Bloodline.
Really? Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
One of 5 Hellraiser movies that I've actually seen.
I think I've only seen the first one.
No,
I've seen the first 2.
Stop there.
Yeah, I've seen the first 2. Yeah, absolutely. Tiffany follows up with, hey, Dave and Cody, did any of you guys have a My Buddy doll? My Go's brother threw his out the window after seeing the first Child's Play when we were kids. I do remember the My Buddy doll. I never had one, though.
Let me look at a picture. I did have like a low budget version of Chucky when I was a kid. I don't know if it was a My Buddy doll or not. I'm looking at pictures right now, but it was something very similar. I had a doll that was kind of similar-ish to a Good Guy doll, and I called him Chucky. Because ever since a kid, I just loved Chucky from the moment that I saw him whenever I was like 4 years old or whatever. I was never scared of him. So
it was a Phil doll.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a Phil doll.
Yeah, it was a Phil. It was a little Philip.
Little Philip, that's right. Hi, how's it hanging? Richie Work says to do something like Invincible with Freddy. Oh, I guess you're talking to somebody else above there. Let's see. Raul Munaz. Am I saying that? I'm probably totally butchering it. I think it's Raul, though. I think it's the first part of that. I think. Anyway, what do you think about seeing Nika possessed by Chucky and the connection to Cult of Chucky movie? I don't know who you're talking about.
Nika's Fiona Dorff.
Nika.
So that is the character from Curse of Chucky that got accused of all the murders, and then by the end of Cult, Chucky embodies her. So Chucky is now Nika. Yeah, she's gonna have to. I mean, she's in the show. Fiona Dorff is in the show, so that's going to happen. I mean, unless she shows up in between Cult and the series, she expelled Chucky somehow, but that would require even more explanation. So yeah,
right.
We're gonna see Nika one way or the other. And
I just find it. Sorry, I was just gonna say I find it so fascinating the way you said how Cult ends, and like they're driving off into the sunset like Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
And then you see this trailer and you're like, what's the end point? Like, how are they going to feed these people into this story?
Yeah.
Where is this town in the trailer? Is it like Chicagoland? Is it in the burbs of Chicago, or is it somewhere completely different?
I have no idea. I don't know if they've said it or not. I mean, it might.
It's got to be the Midwest somewhere because of the season.
Yeah, it definitely looks very fall heavy. I mean, they're going for that fall leafy green, red and yellow kind of aesthetic. So it's got to be somewhere in the Midwest.
The only thing there was something else in the trailer too that I saw that I was like, oh, I didn't think it was necessary to say that, is when the woman it's a nitpick. It's not a big deal. I just, I noticed these things. And she's like, oh, who took the butcher knife? Like, I don't think it's necessary for her to say that. I think you can just kind of tilt down and show that one is missing. I think that's more effective that way.
Show, don't tell.
That's right. Who took the butcher knife that's here? And then she looks at the camera.
Yeah.
No, it's not a big deal, but it was just something I noticed. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I would have had her say that. Let me see here. Chester Franklin Jr. says, everybody, did Dave or Cody answer my everybody, did Dave or Cody? Hey, did Dave or Cody answer my question? I don't know, Chester. What was your question? Ask it again. Quick. We'll go another 5 minutes, and that'll bring us to 2 hours. And that's a good. That's a good
it's a good little round number.
Howard D. Charles Lee Ray's hometown. Oh, that's where it is? It's supposed to be Charles Lee Ray's hometown of Hackensack, New Jersey? That would make sense.
That would make sense. I mean, especially if they're going to show flashbacks to his childhood.
Ooh, Hackensack, New Jersey. That makes sense. Harry Hagen, my man, says Andy's mom is the mom in Seventh Heaven. That's true. Seventh Heaven, who is also the mother of Jessica Biel in the show, not in real life, right? Texas Chainsaw Chucky mashup?
No.
Don't
mash Texas Chainsaw with anything. Let that thing
I
die
want
on
to
its
see
own.
Chucky versus Jaws. No.
Yeah.
Troy Grubb says, what happened to that idea Don Mancini had for a Chucky Freddy crossover movie, Child's Play on Elm Street? I remember reading something a few years back about that great show. About that great show tonight, David Cody. I am not a crossover guy. And it's not that I didn't have fun watching Freddy versus Jason. You can, get yourself into a certain zone in mind and turn your brain off.
I think that's the only time where that approach makes sense.
Yeah, and it is what it is, but I don't want to see Michael versus Pinhead, Chucky versus Leprechaun. I just don't want to see it. I'm a very linear storyteller. I like things being sort of clean with well-defined lines, and I don't like to, mix. What's that saying?
Cross the streams.
Cross the streams. Thank you. That's right. I'm not a big fan of crossing the streams. I think we should all just piss in our own urinals and just kind of leave it there. But I do know there is a huge section of the fan base, the horror fan base out there, that loves that kind of thing and loves that idea. For me, I think it just, in my opinion, devalues the original series of these. It's a hokey thing in its own, and I understand that by the time they did Freddy versus Jason, Friday and Elm Street were caricatures of themselves anyway. But I'm just not a big fan of it, Cody.
Let's put it this way: Chucky and Freddy are my boys. Those are my two favorites, and I fucking hate that idea. I think Don Mancini probably went into the studio and said, "I'm really excited about this," and he pitched it, and they went, "Oh, that's cute." No. I mean, look, people have their criticisms of Freddy versus Jason. I love that movie for what it is, but I think that it is an absolute miracle from God that movie is the quality that it ended up being.
Right.
For better or worse. And I think that those two characters at that time were the only time that crossover made sense. When you have Chucky and Freddy, I mean, just aesthetically, that fight would look stupid. I mean, you had to soup up Freddy just to make sense of Freddy versus Jason. I mean, you would have to give Chucky, you would have to bring in the fucking Ray from Honey, I Blew Up the Kid to make that fight even halfway fair. I mean, it's
well,
just,
maybe the good guy, the big good guy doll costume on the TV in part 1, Chucky embodies this, and now it's this big like bobblehead Chucky or whatever. No, I don't want to see that.
No,
I don't want to. I mean, listen, I understand that Chucky and Freddy are known for their one-liners, but I mean,
that would
I
be
don't
the
wanna
only
see...
fun potential is seeing them riff back and forth, and that's it.
Yep. And maybe somebody should do a fan film. Somebody, do a fan film out there and bring it. Although to do that, justice would cost a shitload of money.
Yeah. It's DeSanti. Just scrap the rest of Never Hike Alone and do this. I mean,
fuck it.
Just
forget it. Just completely.
You're in the big leagues now. Let's do
let's just put it aside. We'll bring Billy in there too.
Yeah.
We'll have this whole Chucky versus Jason versus Billy, and then totally. I'm sure everybody would be down for that.
Fan film shared universe.
100%. And it'll be Chucky versus Freddy, and they're like, Chucky versus Jason, and then they get themselves into a house where there's a rotary phone and the phone rings and Chucky's like, hello. You know what I mean? And then it goes all Billy. It'd be great. Can you imagine? Holy Jesus. Okay. Casey McNatt sends in $5, says, I think if it wasn't for Jason Goes to Hell, people wouldn't have wanted Freddy versus Jason. That movie put the idea in their heads.
Well, I think
the idea was around before that. Yeah.
People love the crossover and the whole family. Right, let's be real, bro. Like the Hulk versus Mighty Mouse, who would win? Like people are doing that shit all the time. So, I mean, it's
true.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Astro Boy versus the Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that is going to do it for us here on this live stream tonight. This was a lot of fun, Cody. Stick around. I'll go to the Patreon card, but we'll have sort of a more formal goodbye after. But I really appreciate you coming on and talking some Chuck and sharing your knowledge and bringing me up to speed, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. And of course, people can find you on your own YouTube channel, which is very successful, and you're rocking it over there. It's just Cody Leach, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes. Yep, very easy to find.
Cody Leach. And then on Twitter, you're...
it should be CJL Lone Wolf.
CJL Lone Wolf.
It's my initials and then Lone Wolf. I made it years ago, and I've yet to take the time to make it anything updated.
Anywhere else you want people to know where they can find
No, YouTube, that's pretty much the central hub for anything. So even if you go to the YouTube channel, in the video description of every video is the links to everything else. So if you like me enough there to follow me everywhere else, there's your little central hub.
Perfect. I will make sure to put a link to your YouTube channel in the description. I haven't done that yet. I'll make sure to do that after we get off here. Awesome. So people can just quickly find your YouTube channel down there in the description as well. Harry Hagan goes hard into the paint and gets one in at the buzzer. $2 says, Cody, will you ever do a film, fan or otherwise?
Never say never.
Ooh, he's doing one. He's doing one. Did you hear Cody's going to do one? What the fuck? Cody's doing a Chucky fan film. What? What the fuck? Well, I didn't even say anything. Well, I just said, no, that's what you mean. Oh, that's what you mean. Come on. That's how the internet works.
We got this covered.com confirmed. Cody Leach writing Chucky versus Freddy.
Folks, if there's one thing we got this covered does not have, it's anything covered. Okay. So let's just keep that in mind. Thank you to my great moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, for doing what you guys do. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the super chat questions that came in. Really appreciate that. The non-super chat questions, of course, that came in. You guys are amazing. You know you are. In the comment section below, if you're watching live now or if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know, let Cody know as well. Let us know your thoughts on Child's Play, on the new Chucky TV series, on where you want it to go, where you think it's going, what are you worried about, what are you excited about? Comment below and let me know. Let us know. I would really like to know. Oh my God. Okay, so this Chucky is from, what is this Chucky from?
This is the same design as Bride, and I like to think that he's from Bride, but this is technically a seed of Chucky doll.
It's a seed of Chucky doll.
We don't talk about that one.
We don't talk about that. I think I remember this unboxing video you did with this guy.
Yes.
I think, is that Trick or Treat Studios?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. They did a really good job.
They did. They did an awesome job.
Really good job. Really good. Okay, very cool. Well, and I like the. Did he wear that hat in?
No, this is my Heisenberg hat from Breaking Bad, and I just thought that it was a cool place to stow it, and it kind of makes my Chucky unique. So
it totally looks like something he would wear in one of his movies. 100%. I totally buy it. Absolutely. All right, guys, have a great rest of your night. Cody, thank you very much, and Cody and I will talk to you soon. All righty.
We're your friends to the end.
Oh, he said it. He said it. Oh, my God. He's doing a fan film. Cheers.